met one.
Well, I just met one tonight. It's you.
The other room.
Michael Rafferty is the man you're seeing on screen. And if you watched our previous video, you already know that his 18-year-old girlfriend, Terri-Lynne McClintic, has confessed to her role in what happened. For anyone who doesn't know the story, in April 2009, 8-year-old Tori Stafford vanished while walking home from school in Woodstock, Ontario. Hours of searching turned into days, then weeks, until police finally arrested Terri and Michael for Tori's abduction, assault, and murder. Now, in this interrogation room, detectives are no longer guessing. They have Terry's disturbing confession, and they're about to see whether Michael Rafferty will finally tell his version of what happened to Tori Stafford.
Come on in and grab a chair. That'll unfold, so that's a blanket for you there. Okay. And tea. I think they might have only put one sugar in. I think they got it mixed up. And there's a plain donut there for you. I had a cereal bar, but if you get hungry or anything else, just let me know, okay? Do you have any...
I've eaten since noon.
You have eaten since noon? Okay. Are you hungry now? I can get you a full meal if you want.
Okay.
Bacon and eggs, or do you want something else?
I'm too sick to talk.
Okay.
This is ridiculous.
That's okay. You can listen. And if you have any questions as we go along, there's no issues there at all, okay?
Okay.
I got a few things I'll talk to you about. As I told you, my name is Chris. My last name is Lone. I understand your name is Michael. Now, do you go by Mike or Michael? What's your preference?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. I'll probably call you Mike, so unless that really offends you, just leave it with. I'm going to go over a few things here today. Okay, Mike? Like I say, don't be shy. You'll find I'm pretty relaxed, pretty laid back, because I've dealt with these types of issues before, okay? I know that earlier tonight that you've had an opportunity to have your rights read to you, which you understood, and you understand your caution. You don't have to say anything, okay, to me or any other police officers. And you had an opportunity to speak with the lawyers, so there's no issues for any of that. Now, having said that, though, anytime that you have a question, all right, don't be shy. Now, I have no issues getting you any food there, so if there's something that you want, okay, I'll get you some food. There's no problems at all. Like I say, I get that for you in about 5 minutes. So, but my job is, as I mentioned to you earlier, I'm from what's called the behavioral sciences section, and we're talking about the missing person when Tori Stafford went missing. And I know you were following a little bit in the media, and you'd follow some little bits and pieces that there was behavioral sciences people involved, right? And sometimes they were criminal profilers. There's been other members in there as well. Threat assessment, and that's what one of my roles is as well. In threat assessment, what my job is to determine the risk. Okay, what's the risk of a certain situation? The situation that we're talking about, you're going to find here that there's nothing you're going to tell me to surprise me. Okay, for two reasons. One, I've heard a lot of this stuff before. The second reason is I'm fortunate enough to know what all the case facts are. Okay, so what I have to do is assess what I perceive.
As in the previous video, this guy is an absolute badass, experienced detective who will tear Michael apart. Just pay attention as how he will skillfully dissect him.
Is a threat. So are you going to go out and kill more people after this situation is done? Okay, that's what my job is, to assess threat level. All right, I already know you're responsible for one death. Okay, so that's what my job is to determine, okay, what's happened here. All right. We're in a situation there now where the investigators have been to the Home Depot in Guelph, okay, and they've been to the scene the other side of Guelph, okay, where Tori is. So I'm aware of that stuff. I'm aware of what happened leading up to her disappearance, and obviously you are following it in the media as well to see, obviously, the composite of the girl that was involved with you in this, and also the pictures of the vehicles. And I know. I mean, I got to look at it from your standpoint as well. It's human nature, right? I mean, you see that the police aren't advertising they're looking for a male subject, and they're not advertising they're looking for this gray Honda, right? And they show this van, and the reality of it is your vehicle is on the video before that van is anyway. So your vehicle's connected to this through video right from the beginning, okay? And I know it's a pretty good feeling to be involved in something like this and the police don't come near you for over a month, right? Police don't talk to you till May 15th. It's the first time that they come around. So you were feeling pretty comfortable for a little while, okay? So those are the things that I have to look at. But before we go through all that, though, my people just don't wake up one day and decide this is going to happen, and I know that. All right. So there's a lot of ideas that go in people's heads at the time. And if I go through, and I go through your history and your background, there's not a whole hell of a lot you've been involved in life, is there? Right? You're completely under the radar. Okay, you've flown completely under the radar your whole life. I think you're involved in some vehicle thefts and stuff, breaking in some vehicles years ago, right? When you were a kid. And we've all done stupid stuff.
Never done any of that.
I can't look you in the face and say I haven't done it. Well, you already told an officer that you did that, right? That you
No,
went into some
I didn't
cars.
say that's what I did.
What did you say?
I said we went into cars that were unlocked and took things out of them, and that was it.
Okay, I used the term break-in. Okay. Now, the reason I say that is back when I was a detective, when you go into a car or a house where there's locked or unlocked, that's a break-in. Okay, because you're not supposed to be in there. So that's where that terminology came from. Okay, Mike. But anyways, I'm going to go through a few things with you here. All right. Obviously, you're upset by what's going on. You're here for a reason. And right back at the beginning, the investigators and the case manager, the officer in charge, said that I'm going to follow the evidence and go where the evidence leads me. Okay? And now you're here because the evidence has led the investigators to you. All right? And then I get involved after that. There's been people that I work with in behavioral sciences that have been here from the outset of the investigation. But really, at this point in time, I mean, when I go in and look at your history, there's very little on there. Like I say, you've flown under the radar. You haven't had any major problems with the police. Okay, but now all of a sudden you're involved in this situation, and it's a serious situation, and it's a scary situation. I'm sure you're quite upset and quite concerned about what's going on here. All right. Now the last one I was involved with like this, I don't know if you're aware of it, was a girl named Holly Jones in Toronto when she went missing, and the guy that had abducted her, his name was Michael Rafferty. And what he was doing is he was watching on his computer for hours and hours and hours. He was looking at child porn to the point that he decides, I want to go try this. And he goes and he grabs Holly and he does some things to her, and then he realizes, what am I going to do? Okay? And he panics. He doesn't know what to do because she's a witness now. And he says, if I just let her go, she's going to tell on me. So he decides that he's not going to let her go. All right? And all that was from something as simple as watching child pornography for hours.
When police inspected Michael's hard drive, they discovered 17 gigabytes of material, all of them from children.
Hours on end. These things happen, okay? And we can't say it happened close to home. Toronto's not that far from you, okay? These things happen all the time, all right? So what I need to do is sit with you. I already know how. I know the who's, right? Why? I mean, why is up to you, but I can actually probably fill in that blank for you, but that's not what my role here is. If I'm going to assess risk here and see, number one, do you even feel bad about what you've done? That's the first thing I look for. And number two, do I think, okay, he doesn't feel bad, so an attorney's probably going to do this again because he really doesn't care about it the first time it's happened, okay? But I also know that you've probably made some other choices in life into who you associate with, right? We've all done that. I mean, we've all brought home a girlfriend or a boyfriend or something that people aren't going to approve of, and we've all had friends that our family's not going to approve of. I've done that. We all have. Okay, so that's what we have to sit and look at here. But it's one of those things that, like I say, I'm not at all upset with you. I'm not mad at you. I don't mind sitting here talking with you. You'll know if I don't want to talk to you because I'll just simply leave, right? And I have no issues with that. But at the same time, you and I need to have open communication. Like, I appreciate you clarifying with me when I comment about a break-in, okay? Because I have to make sure that you understand the terminology I use, and I have to understand the terminology that you're using as well. Now, as I go through this, like I say, there'll be a few things that I may cover off that you may say, well, I don't understand that. But having said that, from reading about you, this to me seems like it's out of character. Now, I could be wrong, right? You may have been planning this for a long period of time, and you may have thoroughly enjoyed this. And if I'm wrong, then you tell me that, all right? But I also know that we all make mistakes, okay? And that's why pencils have erasers, okay? Because we all make mistakes. It's that simple. Spending time with you here, and if I'm wrong, you tell me. But it looks like if you could turn back time, maybe there's a few decisions in life you'd made a little bit different, all right? If I could turn back time for you, Mike, I would. But it's not that simple, okay? So now you and I have to sit here and face what's happened, okay? I can sit and tell you what happened. I can take you through the day of her disappearance, okay? I mean, I've seen the video, all right? And I know that you didn't do this alone. And but at the end of the day, we got to deal with this situation, okay? Because it's a young girl that we got to talk about. And if you and I don't sit and talk about your side, then people will only think the worst, right? It's human nature, right? You've done it and I've done it. We always think the worst until we know the facts, okay? So that's what you and I need to sit here and work and discuss and work through. Again, if I'm wrong, you tell me, okay? But I really believe if you could turn back time, you would deal with this a little bit different, okay? And there may have been a rush, it may have been exciting for a period of time, but then reality sets in, and you have to sit and live with the fact of what's happened here, okay? And that's what we're doing here. We have to sit and deal with what's happened. Now, I can take you to any point in that day when Tori goes missing, from the time she goes missing to the time things get out of hand, all right? And I can outline that to you. And I can outline some of the what's called post-offense behavior. So after the offense, some of the behavior that happened there, getting rid of some of the evidence and things like that, okay? Your vehicle's been seized, and there's been some steps you've taken to kind of mask or get rid of some of that evidence. You may be successful in some ways, but you won't be successful getting rid of all the evidence and all the DNA, because there's not a cleanser out there that'll do that. And I've sat with dozens of people that have tried, okay? There's no magical stain remover out there to get rid of DNA. So really at this point, what you have left is your word and your credibility. And people always think the worst, okay, until they know the truth. You do it and I do it. It's human nature. So we're all going to think the worst until we know why this has happened in your mind. And again, if it's something where you're like Michael Briere, where you looked at a lot of child porn and then decided you were going to try it, then that's fine. If it wasn't your idea, then that's fine too. But we can't change what the case facts are. All right? Is there anything that I've said other than that break-in thing that I've got wrong at this point in time?
I'm not
Because
going
I'm
to say
breaking
if it's
it down.
wrong or right.
That's fine. You don't have to say if it's wrong or right, okay? But you know deep down that it is. And you know deep down that this is your chance to get it off your chest. So you're not sitting there the rest of your life saying, I guess I should have said something. All right? I guess I should have got it off my chest and said my side. Because this is your last chance to do it. The fact that you're here and the fact that they've already, they know where the victim is, okay, and they know your steps, this is it. Do you watch Ultimate Fighting at all?
No.
You don't watch it? Okay. You have to take the steps now to live the rest of your life, okay? This is what you have to do. You and I need to talk about this, okay? So I've got to determine, as part of my job, when all is said and done here, do I think Mike's done? This is it. He's made his mistake. He realizes how wrong the mistake that he made, and he's willing to look past it? Or do I have to sit here and say, all right, my report's going to say very simple, I think this guy's going to reoffend. I think this guy is going to kill.
Isn't that for courts to decide if I've even done it or not?
The courts will decide if what your role is in this particular case. My role is to write a report for the court to determine what I think your risk level is. And that's there's other reports that my units write as well. And that's what our job is. We deal with these types of situations and the reasons why people do this stuff, okay? Like I say, this may have been a thing that you just snapped and did something. That stuff happens. Or it may have been something you planned for many months and got some enjoyment out of the plan.
I didn't do anything.
Well, that's not entirely true either.
That is
Okay.
entirely true.
No.
I didn't do anything.
No, you can try and cement yourself into that, okay? But at the same time, you're not doing yourself any good by not being truthful here, okay? Because by not being truthful, all you have left is your credibility, Mike. That's all you have left, okay? You're not the only person who's been arrested and charged, okay? And there's no surprises left anymore, okay? It's not even a surprise, it's why this happened.
I'm also not the only innocent person who's ever been arrested and charged.
Well, and that's true. There's been people that have been arrested for things where there's no evidence, but unfortunately in this case there's lots of evidence to determine your role in this crime, okay? Even the steps that you've taken to try and eliminate your involvement. Okay? Clearly, I guess maybe I should explain the evidence a little bit more. Maybe that's my mistake. But because I'm so comfortable in the facts and that I've dealt with all this, maybe I should put you at ease a little bit more. But the reality of it is, as I mentioned earlier, your vehicle's seen on the video. Okay? The girl who's on the video who walks away with Tori has been identified, and she's been identified as her and Tori being in your car. And the three of you and her and Tori, go to the Guelph area, go to the Home Depot, okay? And the grabbing of Tori, there was a planned event that you were going to grab her. You're going to grab a girl, but this other person was going to do it, and the other person got the girl, put her in your car, all right? And then there's other steps that are taken from there, okay? There's things that happen at Home Depot. There's things that happen outside of Guelph. And there's things that happen to Tori, all right, before she's gone. And you're involved in that, and you can't mask that. You can't change it. Okay?
No.
Because what's happened has happened. I can't turn back the hands of time, and neither can you. Okay? There's nothing I can do to turn back the hands of time and say, I wish Mike would have reacted to this situation a little bit differently. Okay? There's been tips come in on you sooner than recently. There's been a few tips. There's been a few people that have mentioned your name in the past. And when all these tips are put together, then the ball starts rolling. And then the fact that when they dissect these tapes, and they also go in both directions of the tape, they go before they see Tori, and they go after they see Tori. And lo and behold, there's your car, all right? And that starts it as well. So there's, and then after, and I don't know if you're aware of it, how much media attention was given, but then they start collecting the videos from the highway, right, to see which vehicles went where. So the video is going to play a very key role. Videotapes to evidence will play a very key role in this investigation and determining what happened, because there's cameras everywhere, right? The average Canadian is on camera 8 times a day, whether we go to a gas station, whether we go to Tim Hortons, or we drive through a light that has a camera. Certain communities have cameras, certain weather stations have cameras, or news stations. So we will go through as Canadians a minimum of 8 cameras a day. So you go through cameras, as have I. We've all done that. There's no questioning that we've all seen these cameras or been on these cameras. But there's no doubt in my mind, okay? There's no doubt in my mind that you're involved in the abduction, okay, of Tori. No doubt in my mind at all. I've followed the evidence. I've read the file, okay? There's no doubt in my mind. We're past that, okay? And the only concern or the issue that I have...
This is why I told you this guy is ruthless. Constant monologue and pressure, and everything he said is on point. He knows exactly what happened. The only thing is the reason and motive behind it. And the constant talking is also a tactics detectives use. The constant pressure doesn't allow him the freedom to think and come up with lies.
Is why you did this. What caused you to do this? Was it something you, like you say, is this something you've done before, and you've been involved in the death of other people, and you enjoyed this? Am I sitting across the desk from Paul Bernardo here? Am I sitting across from someone who's made a mistake? Okay? And that's going to be the question that's asked of you. All right? I'll get you a bucket there just a second. If you gotta get sick, pull your boots there. Okay? I've seen it before. You're not going to offend me or bother me. So if you gotta be sick, Mike, go right ahead. Okay. I'll get you some paper towels or something.
No.
If you feel like you're going to be sick, just grab the, I'll have the bucket there handy for you. Okay?
Did you catch that? Michael wanted this torture to end and escape, so he started to fake puking, but the detective hardly misses a beat and just brings him a bucket before carrying on. What a great way to call his bluff, and let him know that he's not going to be coddled even if he actually is sick enough to puke, all while completely staying in character as the friendly, helpful, good cop. Masterful.
Just leave it right there. You and I need to have a discussion here. This isn't a parking ticket, okay? This is reality, okay? And people are, I've already told you, you know this. People assume the worst until they know the truth, okay? And people are going to assume the worst of you unless you and I sit here and clarify it. Okay, something's pushed you to do this. Okay, you can't just fly under the radar your entire life. okay, Mike? It doesn't happen. It's not realistic. Okay? I'm not going to sit and tell you that it happens. Something brings this on. And when you sit and talk to someone who had a troubled life like Michael Briere and just gets pushed into doing this and panics and thinks, what would it be like to take a kid and touch and rub a kid and then wish you could stop, okay? And people can't, and that's the whole issue here, all right? We can't control every emotion, all right? We can't control some of our urges, some of our thoughts. None of us can, okay? And I can't look you in the face and say I haven't made a mistake or made a bad decision in life, because I have. But the reality of it is, you and I have to accept that and move on, okay? Because I can walk out there and never see you again. Like, I can do that, right? My job here is done. The job here is done, as you'll find out tomorrow, as things start to be released. There is no more questions. There is no more long, drawn-out investigations. They're already sending people home to spend time with their families, okay? They're scaling back what's happened because it's been cleared, and they know what's happened. The pieces of evidence have been gathered. So that's reality. I can't downplay that. But you and I need to walk out of here together, okay, with what happened here. You and I have to sit and say, this is what pushed Mike over the top. This is what pushed Mike to get involved in something like this. Because if we don't, then you sit here on your own and you have to take it. Okay, and is that necessarily fair? All right?
I have to sit here on my own anyways and take this.
To an extent you do, yes. You have to sit there and decide, am I going to get rid of this and get this off my chest so people understand my side, or am I going to sit there curled up and keep it in for the rest of my life? All right? You need to be realistic about this, okay? You have no battle plan to deal with this, right? It's happened, it's spun out of control, and you're thinking, okay, if I ever get caught for it, what am I going to do? Well, your plan isn't going to work, okay, because you're not built for this shit. This isn't what you're about, okay? You're not some sick bastard, right, that sits there and gets enjoyment out of hurting people, all right? So now you have to live with this, okay? And to live with it, one of the first ways, right, is like if someone's an alcoholic, what's the first thing they have to do? Acknowledge they got the issue, all right? You have an issue here in that there's overwhelming evidence, compelling evidence that indicates you're involved in what's happened to Tori, okay? And I can't change that and you can't change that at this stage. But you need to be honest and you need to understand your credibility, Mike, is all you have left. All you have left from here on in is your credibility. And you sitting here saying nothing doesn't do you a bit of good, because no one's going to know. And then all of a sudden, 10 years from now or 5 years from now, you decide to say something, who's going to listen? Nobody, okay? This is your chance to say your piece, all right? The evidence is very clear. I'm only giving you bits and pieces. If I sit here from A to Z and tell you all of it, we'll be here all night, okay? And that's really not my purpose, all right? So you need to understand what's going on, okay? There's evidence to show what happened here, all right? And what caused you to do what you did. That's what's important. What would cause you to get involved in an incident like this, okay? And like I say, you probably were feeling pretty good about yourself for a while, because really, like you said, it wasn't until May 15th that the police had been around to see you. And they never said anything about your vehicle being on the video. They released the other vehicle instead, all right? But you know your vehicle's on there. It's plain as day. And like I say, if you want, and you can see probably I'm trying not to, out of respect actually for you, but I can sit and get as graphic as I want, okay? Because none of this stuff bothers me, because I've seen it hundreds of times, okay? But if I sit and go over what's happened here with Tori, you may not be real happy about it, because it's going to cause you to relive all this crap, okay? And maybe you want to, because I can tell you, I've sat with guys that wanted me to say it again so they could hear what they've accomplished. And I've had that, where they want me to say it 2 and 3 times because they get a rush out of that. I don't think that's you, okay? You're not some sick guy, okay? I'm not sitting across from Paul Bernardo, okay? I know that, and I know people that have sat across from him, okay? And I know 2 officers that have in different stages of their lives, okay? And I know what he's all about. You're not that guy, all right? But at the same time, you can't just sit here and say, well, I hope this all goes away, right? This isn't like a list your girlfriend gives you to say, here's a list of things to do. Can you go pick up a few things at the grocery store for me and get some gas? This isn't what that is, okay? This is a lot more serious than a to-do list. There's no doubt in my mind, okay, that you've done this to Tori. No doubt in my mind. We're past that, okay? And there's no doubt, to me, I truly believe it's out of character. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's out of character. But Mike, I can't sit and and talk to you and pretend that nothing's happened, okay? I can't turn back time, okay? You've been involved in this thing. Along the way, there's been some decisions made that I would like to think you would take back, okay? But again, I believe this is out of character for you. I could be wrong. Like I don't think you feel very good about this. I don't think you feel very good about what happened to this girl. And I'm sure that every day you've had to deal with this stress, all right? Now we need to understand what pushed you to this point. What caused you to do this? Like what would cause you, who's been flying under the radar, you're actually a quite popular person when the investigators talk to people. You're a very well-liked individual. There's not a bunch of people say a lot of bad shit about you, all right? There are some people that report that you might be involved in this, but there's not a lot of people that sitting there saying bad shit about you, all right? So that tells me that you have some people that respect you and some people that like you. But that also tells me, again, that this must be out of character for you, okay? As soon as I sat and talk about people that have been involved in killing more than one person, you get disgusted, okay? You may well be disgusted with me, or you may be disgusted with the thought of the whole thing, okay? But that's not what you want to hear. You're disgusted by that. What does that tell me? It tells me that you're not the type of person that wants to go out and kill a bunch of people, okay? But we need to deal with reality. And the reality of it is your credibility is all you have left at this point. If you sit there and say nothing, everybody's going to assume the worst, okay? And you may be painted with a picture that you're not real happy with, okay? And I'm the only one that feels like sitting in here with you, right? There's no investigators lined up in here sitting with you. Why do you think that is? Right? Because they've been working at this for weeks, okay? They're tired, and they've been away from their families, and none of them want to come in here and talk to you, okay? I have no issue with that. I'm neutral. I don't have these issues. I haven't been away from my family. I don't mind talking to you. Like, I've talked to people that have been involved in things far worse than what they're saying you did here. Far worse, okay? And I can sit and list the things that I've been involved in. There are people who have done things that have been a threat to our national security, terrorism in Canada. Or I've dealt with people that have been involved in murdering more than 3 people, all right? I've been involved with people who have abducted and taken the life of children. I've been involved in that. I've dealt with many people who are sex offenders that habitually and repeatedly touch and molest children. I've dealt with that. That stuff doesn't bother me, okay? But what's going on here is that you're just in there, you're just a big bundle of nerves, and you don't know what to do. You don't know whether to sit here, shake, shit, puke, you don't know what to do. But the reality of it is, at the end of the day, the evidence is the evidence, okay? And the evidence clearly shows you're responsible for the abduction of Tori, okay? And I also know that she's no longer with us, okay? And you're responsible for that too, okay? And there's a sexual component to this as well. So you might want to sit and get this off your chest and go through your side with me, all right? Because if I just walk away, at minimum, that's what people are going to think, at minimum, all right? When we sit and look at Michael Briere, when he was in Toronto,
I don't know these people.
okay. Well, what happened was Holly Jones was an 11-year-old girl. She's abducted in Toronto, okay? And there was a big search for her, and her mother was on the news repeatedly pleading for her safety. And what Michael Briere had done, as I had mentioned, is he was watching pornography on the internet. On his internet at home, he kept looking at it. He had this desire as he saw it to get more and more. So then he decides, after watching this for a period of time, that he wants to touch a kid. So he goes out and he finds a kid and brings her into his apartment. And she goes willingly. He talks her into it. In she goes. And he does some sexual things to her. But then he panics because he's thinking, holy crap, she can identify me. She knows where I live. What do I do? Okay, and he causes her death. And later on, it takes a bit of time, but the investigators track him down, and he is arrested because of the evidence. And the first thing he does when he gets on the camera is he looks at the camera and says, I apologize, here's what I did. And he outlines what happened with the pornography, and then he actually outlines he gives actually some parents some safety tips for their kids. He says, if you don't want your kid to be abducted, here's what you need to do. And he tells them what kids should be doing, okay? And what happened to him? You haven't even heard about him. Why is that? Because he apologized and moved on. That's why you've never heard of him, okay? But you've heard of Paul Bernardo, who didn't apologize, right? Everyone knows who Paul Bernardo is, right? That happened in southwestern Ontario. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone knows who Carla is, right? And is this a Paul and Carla thing? That's going to be asked, okay? Make no mistake, I'm not making this shit up, okay? okay? I was involved with the Green Ribbon Task Force, which was the Paul and Carla thing in the 90s, okay? I had all kinds of involvement from the time it was unsolved to the time it was solved. But no one's ever heard of Michael Breer for the reason I just told you, all right? But they sure as hell know who these other guys are, right? And it's the same situation you've been in. If someone, a friend of yours, lies to you, or someone rips you off for $50 or $20, right? And you catch them. You say, listen, why did you take my money? And the guy says, I didn't take your money, right? You're pretty pissed off with that guy. You know what, Mike? I took your money. I apologize. I was gonna pay you back, but you came and I panicked, so I took your money. You can live with that, all right? But you have some explaining to do. Okay, that's reality. I can't change that. Okay? If this is something that got out of control, that you just planned on taking her and you thought you were going to put her back, or just take her for a ride, that's fine. If it got out of hand, then we need to talk about that. Okay? You need to sit and explain that and say why. Okay? If not, then I say people think the worst until they know. All right, that's human nature. You and I have both done that in our lives. If we don't know the facts, all right, people can think the worst, and this is what you have to deal with. Okay, this is reality. There's even steps that things that you've done to your vehicle to try and conceal the crime. Like I say, you just can't. There's no magical stuff that washes away DNA or gets rid of DNA.
The detective masterfully weaves minimization and inevitability, insisting Rafferty's no monster like Paul Bernardo, just a guy overwhelmed by urges, like Michael Breer, who confessed and faded into obscurity after panicking post-assault. He dangles credibility as Rafferty's last lifeline: confess now or face the public's worst assumptions forever. Every empathy play, we all make mistakes, anchors back to damning evidence: vehicle on video, DNA unerasable, sexual motive undeniable. Rafferty's silence is weaponized. He's painted as likable but out of character, bundled nerves with no plan. The pressure builds. Admit the push, explain the panic, or be vilified eternally. Yet Rafferty stays sealed, jaw clenched.
Okay, and keeping in mind a lot of the stuff that you did is on cameras and other spots. Okay, I mean Home Depot has all kinds of cameras. Okay, parking lots and inside the store. So even if you don't go into the Home Depot store, there's still cameras in the parking lot for security reasons and for thefts and other reasons. So this case primarily is solved through cameras, all right? But also there's other things. I mean, you didn't do this alone, as I've told you. I never told you who was with you, though I know, and I know what her role was in this. Okay, and I also know it was your vehicle. But I can sit and write this out. I can draw this thing out from the time Tori is picked up to the time that her end has come. And I can tell you that stuff, all right? What good is it coming from me? The investigators are going to do that, okay? My role is to sit and determine what the hell happened here. What caused you to get involved in something like this? And that's all my role is. And if I walk away saying, I don't know what caused it, then that's the way it goes. Too bad, right? That's just the way it goes. But if I sit with you and determine what happened and how this got off the rails, then you're not sitting there alone, all right? Because you may be a lonely person for a period of time until people understand what the hell happened, okay? And the person that judges you, the people that judge you, will all be people that have made mistakes themselves. But human nature is very simple. We all appreciate when people are honest with us, and when we all admit our mistakes and acknowledge when things get out of hand. There's nothing wrong with that. But then there's also times when we're not tolerant of people that won't be honest in a situation. It's not like I'm not trying to belittle this or make it seem insignificant. I know what I'm asking here. Okay, I know that I'm not asking you to do something easy. I know that. Okay. And I know just because I know the case facts, and I've sat in rooms for many hours with people under circumstances like yours or worse. I'm not trying to downplay it or minimize it or be like some kind of smart ass. But at the same time, you have to understand, not only is there a ring of truth of what I'm saying and a ring of experiences to what I'm saying, because I've been there and been around it, but there is no other way. You don't have any other options. There's nothing else that you can do to change what's happened to her. We can't turn back time. However, we can explain how things got off the rails, whether it was something that happened slowly or just went right off the rails right from the beginning. And it can be as simple as you driving up the highway and think somebody spots you with her in your car, and you make a series of decisions, all right? I mean, that's happened in the past where people have picked someone up and they weren't sure what they were going to do. Somebody saw them, and guess what happens, right? They panic. I can give you another example of that because it was in the news recently. I don't know if you know it. It was a case that was 38 years old. Okay, it happened in Northern Ontario, up by North Bay. And the guy was actually living in London. He moved away 38 years after the death of this 12-year-old girl. And through technology and DNA, they were able to solve it. Have you ever even heard of that case? Why? Because the guy said, yeah, he was driving up the road, he took this kid, and as they're driving up the road, he sees a person, he grabs her by the head and pulls her head down the dash of his truck. And someone saw him do it, but didn't know who the person was. And years later, he gets convicted of it. He acknowledges, yeah, you know what, I screwed up. And you've never even heard of this guy. And that happened in London last year. That happened in October, that it was a great big media event that had happened. And it was done in court in December. And the whole thing was done. There was media attention to that. Nobody even, it wasn't even on your radar, okay? So these things do happen, all right? Whether you don't hear about them or not, these things happen. Why do you think the OPP has a behavioral sciences section? This is all the stuff that we deal with, okay? We deal with occurrences that are unusual. We deal with situations that aren't regular situations, and that's not what this is. This isn't a regular situation. This is a couple of people that made a series of decisions that hopefully they understand aren't quite right, and that they feel bad about, and are willing to, apologize and accept the fact that hey, I made a mistake, and I wish I could take it back. But I just sitting there, I'm thinking, am I dealing with someone who's got all these issues? Am I dealing with someone who people are going to think is some kind of monster? Or am I dealing with someone who let something get out of control, okay? And they got excited and couldn't control it. I think that it got out of hand. If you're asking my opinion, I'm telling you. And I'm on video saying it. I think this situation got out of hand. That's my opinion. And I believe that, okay? I don't think that you're some kind of monster. If I did, you'll find me pretty candid. You'll find that I'll come right out and tell you, Mike, okay? I don't think that, okay? I think this got out of control. I think it got out of hand, okay? Are you some kind of monster? Or did you make a mistake here? You made a mistake, right? This is a mistake, right, Mike? You'd take it back if you could? This is a mistake, right, Mike? You'd take it back? If you could turn back the hands of time, Mike, would you do this a little bit different? Mike, I'm talking to you. If you could turn back the hands of time, you're not some monster. You made a mistake, right? You'd take this back if you could? This is a mistake, Mike. You need to deal with this.
I am a monster,
I know
but
you're
I
not a
did
monster.
not do what you think
No,
I did.
I know you did. We're past that, okay?
No.
We're past that, Mike, okay?
Mm-mm.
I know you're not a monster. If I thought you're a monster, I would tell you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't just walk out. I would spend some time with you. If I thought you're a monster, just because I want to see what makes you tick. But you're not a monster, all right? This thing has consumed you. Look at you, right? You can barely eat or drink. You haven't touched your donut, right? Why is that? Because your guts are eating yourself up inside, okay? You can't sit and say that you're innocent. What's the first thing you did when you got in here? You just laid down and curled up, right? It's all over. You know it's over, okay? You know it's done, okay? You don't have to be an expert in body language. All you've done is lay around in a fetal position since you've been here. That's not how innocent people act. That's not how people that are falsely accused of something act. It's the last thing they do.
It's possibly that it's
It's the last
freezing. I
thing.
haven't eaten since noon. It couldn't be that this is all just a huge shock to me. No, it
Yes.
couldn't have been any of that at all.
It's probably all of that, but it's also the fact that you're involved in it. It's probably all of that, Mike, okay? The fact that maybe you haven't eaten that much, and maybe you are cold, there's no question. The first thing you said to me was you're cold and hungry. So that's why I grabbed you that stuff, okay? And I'm willing to accept that. Maybe that is part of the issue, okay? But there is a larger issue here, okay? And it's the issue of the evidence and the issue that you're involved in this, okay? And we can't change that. But there's no problem with acknowledging that. Like I say, nothing's going to change now. I mean, it's up to you. There's a lot of things I'd be willing to sit and do with you if you're willing to do it. If you want to sit and you and I discuss an apology, I would sit and do that. Whether it's a verbal one where you say you're sorry, or whether we write one out, I'd be willing to do that. If you want to go for a drive with me and you drive around and explain things, I would sit and do that. Okay? I have no issue with that, Mike. I have no ill will, anger towards you. I have none. You don't make me mad. You don't upset me. Nothing like that. Okay. The only issue I have is I don't fully understand, and I acknowledge it. I don't have to come in here as a behavioral scientist and tell you that I don't understand something, but I'm telling you that. Okay. And I don't understand how you can fly under the radar for 28 years. Okay. And get involved in this. Though it does happen. All right. It does. It happens actually all the time where this stuff happens. Again, I've actually given you a couple examples already of people that didn't have, real dealings with the police and get involved in this stuff where they abduct somebody. That happens all the time. Sometimes it's as simple. One of the most common ways an abduction happens is through hitchhiking, where someone's hitchhiking, someone picks them up and they realize, oh shit, and they just decide to keep them for a period of time. That happens all the time. Happens in Ontario, happens across Canada. Okay, this one's a little bit different because the girls picked up Terri, let's call a spade a spade. Terri picks up Tori, brings her to your car, and you guys drive away. That's reality, okay? Can't change that. That's a different kind of abduction, and I acknowledge it. It's unusual, okay? It's an unusual kind of abduction, and it's not normal. I don't know how much you know about Terri, but anyways, she's involved in this. We know that. She's acknowledged this. We know that. She's already confessed and apologized to this. Been there, done that. So there's no real surprises here, okay? The only issue is how the hell did this spin out of control? What's your side of it? Because, we already know hers. But what's your side of it? And that's what I'm here to sit with you and talk to you about, because I wasn't the person that talked to Terri. The other officers did. I volunteered here to come here and shoot the shit with you because I've talked to people in worse situations than you, okay? And like I say, you've been pretty respectful with me. You're not giving me a hard time. You're not being rude to me. So I'll sit with you because, but the reality of it is I can walk away and you're going to sit and deal with this on your own for the rest of your life, okay? I'm here to tell you that I'm pointing out some obvious things to you. All I've really done is point out common sense and put some experiences I've had in behavioral sciences, but the reality of it is we both know people think the worst until they know, and we both know that someone to fly on the radar for 28 years and then be involved in something like this, something's caused it, okay? So all I've really done is point out the obvious to you, all right? You're a smart guy. You're nobody's fool. You know the situation. You know you're in a tough spot, but there's a lot of things here that we just can't sit and ignore, okay? And you just sit and say, wow, it didn't really happen. We're just too far past that. It's unrealistic, okay? Maybe a month or so ago when the investigation was new, you might be able to pull that, but you can't now. It's just all you're doing is hurting your own credibility. And again, this is your opportunity to say your piece, but you got some pretty serious explaining to do here, okay? In the big picture. Now, without me, if I just leave you here, you got some stuff that you need to explain. I don't have to explain it, you do. Okay, I've already told you what my opinion is, and my opinion is something caused you to do this. Okay, because there's little things. If I just say a sentence or a word, right, I can make this thing seem a lot worse than it is, right? I could just sit here and say, you know what, Mike? I said, I'm going to leave here. You can spend the next little while figuring out how you're going to explain the purchase of garbage bags. Okay, well, you have this kid with you. I can explain that. Okay, I can explain it because I've been around this type of stuff. How are you going to do it on your own? Okay, I've acknowledged already what my thoughts are of you. Okay, I've told you that from the beginning, that this is out of character for you. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's why you don't want to talk, because maybe you're thinking, oh, you know what, Chris, you're wrong. Maybe I've done this before. Maybe I plan on doing it again. All right. I don't think that, but I mean, you could be sitting here playing me, right? How would I know? Okay, I can tell you that I don't think that's the case because I've sat across from a lot of people, again, that have been through stuff a lot worse than you. You made a mistake, man. Deal with it and we move on. Here's what happened. I'm not saying for a second that you sat and watched a bunch of pornography and that's what pushed you to do this. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm doing is I'm drawing a comparison to another case that I was involved in that was very similar, okay? But then you in fact helped me by pointing out that you don't even know who these people are, because nobody became insignificant in the end, because the person who did it was honest about it and said what happened, and I actually apologized and then offered tips to parents to safeguard their children. I'm not asking you to do that unless you want it. I'm not asking you to do anything you don't want to do, but I am asking you to be truthful. That's the only thing I'm asking of you, okay? Because the truth is the only thing you have at this point. Your credibility, Mike, is all you have left, okay? You sit here 2-3 years from now and say, okay, I got a story, I'd like people to listen. Who's going to listen? Why would they listen, okay? You don't have the credibility once all the versions are out there and the evidence is all out there. Now, oh, geez, I see what the evidence is now. Now I can make my story match the evidence. Nobody cares, right? Because you have no credibility. At this stage here, you have credibility because you can acknowledge your side and acknowledge what happened, and then you can move on from there, all right? And that's the first piece. It's the same I told you earlier. If someone has a drinking problem, is to acknowledge it and move on, okay? Here's what happened. I'm sorry. And I moved on. And if you're not comfortable with apologizing, maybe not everybody is comfortable saying they're sorry or admitting they made a mistake, that's fine. I'm not going to ask you to do something that you're not comfortable with. However, I am concerned that you're just going to sit here and, oh, well, we'll take a chance. Maybe I'll just leave it and it'll all work itself out. Well past that, Mike. This is not going to work itself out, okay? We're past that. You need to acknowledge what's caused.
This is some heavy pressure, yet Michael still seems unwilling to talk. The detective pivots to accomplices, subtly revealing knowledge of Terri-Lynne McClintic's role to erode Rafferty's isolation, implying shared blame while insisting he's the driver, literally and figuratively. He dangles collaborative options like co-writing an apology or a drive to explain, framing confession as mutual understanding, not defeat. Minimization reigns, mistake, out of hand contrasted with monsters, urging Rafferty to affirm he'd undo it. Body language is weaponized, fetal position, untouched donut as guilt markers, despite Rafferty's weak protests of shock and hunger. Yet the detective concedes partial validity, rebuilding rapport. Rafferty denies monstrosity but stays mum, silence amplifying the pressure as evidence mounts, garbage bags, DNA, inevitable exposure.
But and I never said for a second that you went and took that kid from the school, because you didn't. But that kid was taken from that school, all right, by Terry and put in your car, okay? And you were there, and you were part of when the kid was driven to Guelph, okay, in the Home Depot. And then from there, the kid, into the demise of the kid. But this is the stuff we need to explain, okay? This is the stuff we need to acknowledge. I need you to be like you were, Mike, when I first come in, and you clarified, because it was me that screwed up. I was the one that said break into a car, because it was my terminology. You need to be the one that corrects me, okay? And you need to be the one that said, like I said that you're involved in this abduction. Well, you know what, maybe I better be a little more clear with my words. Terry grabbed that kid from the school, okay? We know that. For a number of ways. There's a whole host of issues. Plus the fact, she matches the comps and she's on the video, and it's later determined to be her, and then she actually subsequently admits to it anyways. But there's all kinds of evidence of that. And your car was on that video at the time. It's a unique car, right? It's a nice looking car. It's got a unique spoiler on it, and it grabbed the attention of the video camera. There's no question. I mean, your car's nicer than mine. My car wouldn't be on there. But that's reality. These are the things that you need to talk about to get your side out now. Because 2 years, no one's going to give a rat's ass. No one's going to give a shit, right? 2 years from now. Because you know what? Mike had his chance and he didn't say anything. Nobody can control your destiny now but you, okay? I can. I mean, I've already told you. I've already put my cards on the table with me. And if there's something I say that you're not comfortable with, then I need you to tell me that. And I would do the same. Okay, Mike, I need to know something here, but why don't we just sit and do that? This is your chance, man. Do you not think you're going to feel better getting some of this off your chest as opposed to keeping it there forever? You know what I mean? I'll sit with you and do this. There's no issues with it at all. Like I say, I have no problem sitting with you, man. Why don't we just find a starting point and we'll do it? Okay? We'll take our time. And if you want a drink of water or something else, we'll do it. But let's sit and deal with this. Okay, let's sit, you and I, and deal with this. and talk about what's happened here. All right? You can do it, man. You can do this. All right? I'll sit with you, Mike. I will sit with you. Okay? If you've been manipulated into this, I'll sit with you. Okay? But you need to be straight with me, and I'll be straight with you. If I say something that isn't right, you need to clarify it. Okay? But let's sit and do this. Let's try it.
Matters what I'm going to say.
How do you figure that?
Nothing is going to matter what I say.
Why do you think nothing will matter, Mike?
Because it won't.
Can you give me a reason why you don't think it'll matter?
It just won't matter.
You don't think I'll believe you? Say your piece, all right? And I think you and I should take that chance. I think you and I should just sit and have that discussion. How is it going to get worse, right? It can't. All right, you're already sitting in here facing this situation, facing these charges. How does it get worse? It doesn't. But your side is important, all right? And I'm certainly willing to listen to it, because there's a couple things that I think that you can shed some light on. I really do. I've been, discussing your thoughts on this and how this spun out of control. But why don't we try it? Why don't you and I have a discussion here? Why don't you test me? Let's discuss something. See where it goes. If you're not comfortable with it, then we won't talk about it anymore. But why don't we try it? And then I'll sit and say, well, what was the downside to that? This is your chance, Mike. This is it. All right? There's nothing else you can do for these people. All right? You've done all you can to save these people. You've done all you can to help them. Right? And obviously, to an extent, someone's put you in this position, right? And we need to deal with that.
You want me to tell you things I didn't do so I can get locked up for the rest of my life for this?
No, that's not. I don't want you to tell me things you did not do. No, I want you to explain to me. Number one, I want the truth, but I want you to explain to me how this happened. All right, how do you get involved in this? How does a guy, over 28 years, not on the radar, how does he get involved in something like this? So that interests me. I'll say that. But I'm also interested in the role that these other people have played. I'm very interested in that. Okay, because to get to the truth, we have to know the other players and their involvement in an accurate form. And like I say, if you and I have something that we can talk about that, I think we should. And I think this is the time to do it. This is the only time to do it. But I'm absolutely interested in what you have to say, but I'm not interested in seeing you go through something that, if like I say, that more experienced criminals have got you into. Where do you think we could start? What would make sense?
A lawyer would make sense.
Okay, and what would that make sense? In what way? Here's an idea. I'm going to ask you a question. What's your biggest fear or your biggest concern now that you've been charged with this? What's your biggest concern here?
Losing my life.
Okay. All right. All right. And
Michael finally said a word after a while. He said his biggest fear was losing his life. That means going to jail as well. He knows he is guilty. And the only concern and fear is his life habits, despite the fact that a young girl lost her life.
I want to know what this girl Terry said.
Okay. She acknowledges that she grabbed Tori and brought her to your car, that it was your wishes, that you sent her there with certain things that you were looking for in a victim, and she took her. And you guys drove on the highway and did the Home Depot thing, which I talked about, left the Home Depot, went to a secluded area, you had sexual relations with Tori, and Tori was killed. So like I say, Mike, when I say I'm interested in your side, I think you can understand why, okay? If you're in with some bad people, this is your time, man. This is as good as it gets, unfortunately. All right? This is it. And, I mean, I can get into more detail if you want, but in a nutshell, that's a polite way of saying what the allegations are. But if there's stuff, if there's other people here,
The detective was called outside for a bit, and Michael could take a breather and finally take a sip, meaning he felt so threatened that he was scared to even drink.
what's happening, man? What's your thoughts?
What's this process? What happens?
What happens next? After you and I are done talking, you go back to your cells. Tomorrow morning, you'll have what's called you'll be brought into court, and the charges will be read to you again, and there'll be a discussion if you get out of custody for bail, and then they may schedule a bail hearing to determine that. And then from there, it's a matter of where it goes from the courts. The investigation will go on for a little while yet. There's a couple things that, as I told you earlier, need to be done. And then in the big picture, you're facing these charges. No problem that way. The reality of it is we could just sit and deal with the issue here, just as easy.
I'd rather deal with this issue.
Michael remains unyielding after 95 minutes of psychological pressure. So the investigators commence the next stage of the interrogation. They initiate the Mutt and Jeff technique, most commonly known in pop culture as good cop, bad cop.
Hey, Steph, how are you? Mind
All right.
for a sec? I understand Mike here wanted to see what Terri-Lynne had to say. Mike, Terri-Lynne's still speaking to my partner, okay? This is the girl you killed, all right? She's not missing anymore. She's dead. Terri-Lynne was asked today if she wanted to call a lawyer 4 times. She said no, all 4 times. She went through 2 boxes of Kleenex, all right? She says on the 8th of April, Wednesday the 8th of April, 2009, at 3:30 in the afternoon, you drop her off at Pavey, south of Fife, south of the public school, where Tori walks out of. You tell her to get a girl, and you want her young. She walks up the street, you drive up to the old age home and you park your car. She walks up to Tori. Tori's nice to her. She trusts her. She holds her hand for a little bit. She walks up the street with her. Terri-Lynne tells her about her little dog, gets her across the street to your car, opens the back door. Tori doesn't like it anymore. She pushes her in the car. You start driving. She says she's freaking out. She says she's worried about you. She's scared about what you're going to do. She says you guys hit the 401. You start driving to Guelph. You park outside a house. You go in for a little while. You come out with some drugs, she thinks. And you drive to the Home Depot. You park at the end of the parking lot. You tell her it's her turn to get out of the car. You tell her to go in there. You give her some cash because you don't want to use your debit card so you don't track it. She goes in there. She gets garbage bags like she's told to do, and she comes back out. Then you go driving. And you pull into a farmer's field right across from a house to the point where you're even asking her if anybody can see you. And what does she do? She says she goes for a walk because she doesn't want to see what happens. And then she comes back, and you're not sitting in the front seat anymore, Mike. You're sitting in the back seat. And she's not liking what she sees, so she walks away again. Then she comes back, and you make her hold one of those garbage bags while you put some of your clothes and her jacket and a hammer in the garbage bag. Then you drive to a gas station. She never sees Tori again. You drive to that gas station, you get out, you wash up, you dump the bag. You drive back to Woodstock. That's Terri-Lynne's story, Mike. That's Terri-Lynne's story while she bawls her eyes out through 2 boxes of Kleenex. And I ask her 4 times, hey, you want to call a lawyer? She says, I don't need to call a lawyer. I feel so bad about what happened. I just want to tell you all about it. That's what you're up against.
Terri-Lynne's a liar.
Well, you're the only person that can tell us that, bud.
I just did.
You gotta be careful though, Mike, because some of the shit she said is backed by not just video but other evidence, but also some of the explanations that she gave as well are verified. That's a little more graphic than I said it, but yeah, there is some stuff that she says that is true. There's no question. I'm not going to say it's not. But
How old are you, Mike? 28 years old? You want to tell us your side of the story? Get rid of your fucking security blanket and start being a man. Because it's not going to be her semen that we find on her body. When we look at the areas underneath the parts of the seat that you cut out, we're going to find her blood. Do you know how blood works? Do you know about red blood cells, white blood cells? White blood cells are thinner. They look like spit when they're separated from red blood cells. They're the ones that seep through into the foam. That's what we get the DNA from. Skin cells from her rubbing up and down against your seats in your car. Tori Stafford is all over your car. All over it. And Terri-Lynne explains everything that she knows we're going to find. You're explaining nothing. So I don't give a fuck if you say one more word to tell you the truth.
All right, we're done then.
Well, I'm done with you anyway.
Okay.
This officer here is trying to understand what the hell you're going through. I don't care.
Who are you?
I'm the lead investigator here.
Okay.
Okay?
Terri-Lynne's full of shit.
Well, that's going to be a funny thing for you to say in court, isn't it?
No.
Because how's the DNA going to be full of shit, Mike? Huh? How's the biologist from the Center for Forensic Sciences going to be full of shit? How's the pathologist that examines her body going to be full of shit? Explain that to me.
I'll be careful, Mike. That's a dangerous road to go up. If there's something you and I can clarify with what she said, then let's clarify it. But we can't just sit here with a blanket statement that she's full of shit, because there is some things that's truthful. And by you saying that takes away your credibility. So we got to be very careful with that.
I'm done with him.
Yeah.
This officer's got his job to do, Mike. He's got a different job than I do. For my investigation, you keeping your mouth shut is the best thing can happen. So keep on keeping it shut.
Okay.
The line, "Get rid of your fucking security blanket and start being a man," was one of the best during this interrogation. The theory behind good cop, bad cop is known as the fear then relief response. It's believed that when the immediate shift from one emotion to the next is so extreme, a suspect can become disoriented and their ability to think critically can be affected. This specific state of disorientation makes compliance more likely, as the rapid change of emotion can evoke the feeling of uncertainty in a suspect's positive response to an oncoming request as a form of coping with this uncertainty. This is, of course, not a guaranteed system, and a suspect will not always respond in the desired manner.
Well, you know more than I told you anyway. It wasn't quite as eloquent as I would have put it, but anyways. This is, these people have been working on this stuff for over a month, right? So some of these people have been working from 6 in the morning to 1 in the morning ever since then. Some of them had 1 day off. So there's a little bit of concern and emotion, but I got to tell you, like you say, it's just sitting saying a blanket thing about Terry. That's not. You're not doing yourself any good. At the same time, what he's saying is right. Like, I did watch what she was saying, and she was very emotional. There's no question. And she did go through Kleenex. There's no question of that. And she was upset. And there's stuff that she said that, was clearly known ahead of time by the investigators, and there's stuff that was said that, by her saying it, later proved out to be confirmed other ways. So don't, no, I can't say don't, you can do whatever the hell you want, but just be careful going up that road. If you're going to do that, you're going to have to try and back it. And like I said, there's no magical cleanser out there that cleans DNA out of a car. just you and I sitting in here, Mike. Your DNA's in this room, my DNA's in this room. That's reality, right? Could be saliva, perspiration. We may have shed skin, hair, whatever. So you just can't wipe it out. And I can sit and tell you over the years of things that people have tried, different types of fuels, oils, filters. People have set fires to their cars lightly to try and get rid of stuff. But yeah, if that stuff gets soaked right in, which it will, you've got an issue. And there's even actually a couple more things that actually he didn't say, whether he did, why he didn't, or whatever. That's fine. But he did talk to Terry today. Anyways, but if, like I said, I have no issues on that. That doesn't change my opinion, our discussion, to be quite honest. I mean, they've got their opinions, and obviously they're getting sick of listening to me, so they've come in and said their piece. But like I say, I've got no, I'm not pissed with you, so I'm not, but like I say, this is your chance. This is your chance to say your piece. And I'm sitting here willing to listen to it. Like you say, I've already told you my opinion, right? I've told you my role, right? My role is behavioral sciences. My role is to assess threat. And I've already told you I don't think you're going to go out and kill somebody else. I've already told you. I've given you my side. But like I say, it's up to you. Like I say, I have no issue sitting here discussing this stuff. But you need to understand what you're up against.
Well, he just told me not to say anything more, so.
Well, it's up to you. You don't say anything to him.
That's what he said, though.
He doesn't want you to talk to him, but that's fine. I'm still interested in listening to you. But I have no issue with it. Like I say, if there's a way we can explain it, then I'll sit and listen to it. If it's oxys is the problem here, then we might as well start up that road. All right? If that's what's happened, and you've taken too many oxys and then went and grabbed her up, then let's deal with that now. All right? Because, like I say, some of the stuff she said is already being confirmed. And some of this you know is confirmed anyways, because you already knew some of the evidence was out there. So you know that that's already reality. But you also have to understand, when I talked earlier about the other cases where the people sat here, acknowledge what they did and apologize, you never even heard of those cases, because the whole thing just flew right under the radar after that. All right? So that's up to you. But I think there's a couple things that we should probably discuss while I'm here. But I mean, you know the risks that are attached to having her in your car going up that highway, right? So you know there's a good chance that there's witnesses for that. So there's certain things that you can explain, and some of it might be a little more difficult. But like I say, I have no issue sitting in here going through it with you. Don't want to talk about the part of the school where she's grabbed? We can discuss that and see what your thoughts are there.
Why I ever started talking to trashy people, I don't know.
You seem smarter than this. Something happened, right? You've heard me say it 50 times probably. Something happened here, man. You don't find a radar for 28 years. So what happened?
I'm not saying anymore.
What part's hard? Is it hard just to even get talking about it?
I'm not saying anymore.
Why?
Because of the officer, because of what the lawyer said, now it's everything. I just don't. I'm not comfortable saying anything.
What's your concern about saying something now? Like at this point?
I'm not saying anymore.
think's going to happen next?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Someone runs in here and starts barking. You just want me to say whatever. You just want me to say things. So it's open and closed.
No.
So it's over and done with. That's it. This is how it is. Nothing more to talk about.
No, actually, because actually that's fair. That's a very fair statement, actually. But I got to tell you, in this case, it's not. It doesn't matter. If you and I never meet, if the police don't even interview about this, it doesn't change what the evidence is, right? But the reality of it is, it is an unusual case. It's an unusual circumstance for someone like yourself who has no previous real criminal experience, has no real past in relation to any type of sex offending, who has no bizarre behavior, right? You're not out torturing kids or doing anything bizarre. No bizarre behavior. Let's be realistic. There's no bizarre behavior really documented on you. And for you to be involved...
I'm done.
Why?
I'm not talking anymore.
How come?
I've already told you why.
Just because of all the different angles and all that?
I just don't feel comfortable talking about it.
So you're prepared then to just leave it like this and you're going to ride it out from here, see where it goes?
Yep.
You think that's the best way to do it?
I don't know. I've never been in this chair before. I don't know. Any questions of me? No.
Need something to eat?
Yeah, but you don't care if I need something to eat.
Why would you say that?
Because you don't.
I wouldn't ask if I didn't care.
You're here for your job.
Nope. I could have walked out. I don't have to ask you because you got it going right here. Right? But the reality of it is, I know that you're going to go back and sit and sleep or do whatever for a while, and you'd be better to do it on a full stomach. That's all it is to it, man. But I don't have to ask you if you want food, but I am prepared to get you food.
So I can eat, and then you can say, "Oh, look, he had an appetite. This is how he must have been feeling. Oh, he drank his tea. This is how he must be feeling." Forget the fact he's just starving and...
No, you're reading too much into it, man. No, that's not what it is at all. I offer you something to eat because I thought if you're hungry, you can eat. I don't care if you eat it or not, right? I mean, it's up to you. It doesn't matter to me if you eat or you don't eat.
And that doesn't go in anywhere in any of your reports.
What's that?
That I ate or not ate.
No, because it's on the video. It doesn't matter if you eat or not. I don't have to write any report. My report doesn't say if you ate or not. My report says what we talked about. That's all.
The suspect looks like his mind is split in two. On the surface, he's still hanging on to hope. He flat out refuses to admit he had anything to do with it. But at the same time, he knows what's happening in that room. He can feel that the detectives aren't buying the act, and that's where the guilt starts to creep in. You can even see it in something as small as food. He's clearly hungry, probably starving by this point. Yet his biggest worry isn't the hunger. It's how he'll look if he eats. He's stuck in this awkward place, wanting to satisfy his body, but also wanting to look so broken by the situation that he doesn't even care about food.
Right? I don't... No, that's reality, man. I ask people that. But... No, I don't... Like I say, it's... your appetite at this point doesn't matter. Really. I come in here, I sat to explain to you what the evidence was. Had a discussion. Actually, I don't think there's any animosity between us. So we had a discussion about what the case facts are, and that was it. So it doesn't matter to me if you eat or not, but it was a legitimate offer. If you want something, I'll arrange for you to get it. There's no issues that way. But read too much into it, man. So you want something to eat?
I need something to eat, yes.
Alright. I'll get you something to eat.
Plain, something simple and plain.
What were you thinking?
Something, anything plain.
Soup or something? Or?
Sure.
Alrighty.
I'm allergic to mushrooms and onions.
Like some type of allergy, is it?
Sorry?
What type of allergies does it make you go into throw up or anything?
The mushrooms make me pretty ill. And the onions just make me nauseous.
Okay.
In reality, no food was coming. The suspect had it right when he stated that the investigator didn't care about his hunger and he wasn't about to go out of his way to get a takeaway meal for a child killer. The Mutt and Jeff technique, although very well executed, was unsuccessful on this occasion. 1 hour later, the detectives will be back with a quest Michael knows really well.
Hey Mike, I'm a pretty get down to the facts kind of guy. I'm sure you've realized that from our brief encounter earlier, all right? This is not rocket science. I've got what Terri-Lynne has told me this afternoon, and I've got you. This is your opportunity. Terri-Lynne's sitting right here. Tell us she's a liar. You've had no problem at saying without her in the room.
Terry's a liar.
Yeah, that's what you're hoping.
I'm not even looking at her.
I don't need to look at her.
See, Mike, I know I was right when I walked in here, okay? And I'm not gonna pull any punches here, okay? I'm not gonna try and kiss you.
From this point onwards, this detective will abandon any tactics and will just roast and psychologically torture Michael. If you thought he was hard on him before, he will go even harder now.
Ass, all right? I mean, let's face it. I'm a cop, all right? And the last 5 weeks, I've been trying to find out who killed an 8-year-old girl. Okay? And I know the guys from behavioral sciences, they got their thing. They're trying to understand why. That's what they do.
You guys all work together.
Yeah, we do. They're good people. They know their job very well. And sure as hell, I'd like to know why. All right? I'd like to think that we don't have people walking around our communities who just because they're bored on an afternoon say, hey, why don't we grab that girl and rape and murder her? Okay? I'd like to think that we live in a community where people think a little bit more about what they're going to do than that. All right? But what do you think you're coming off as right now? Do you think you're coming off as an innocent guy? Do you think you're looking like somebody who's been wrongfully accused here?
You're going to see it however you want to see it. My lawyer, or the lawyer, instructed me to just say...
Yeah, I know, Mike. I know what your
Simply-
lawyer instructed you to say. But that doesn't make you an innocent man. That makes you a man who's saying, holy fuck, what am I going to do now?
Nothing I do is going to change your opinion. So I might as well just follow the lawyer's advice.
Well, you're right there, Mike. Nothing you do is going to get you walking out of this police station tonight without being charged with murdering Tori Stafford. Mike, you know how much media coverage this has. You know what the newspapers are going to do with this and to your family tomorrow, okay? You think the cops are going to be talking to everybody you ever spoke to in your life? That's nothing compared to what the media is going to be doing. This is a huge story for them. This is the next Paul Bernardo. Whether you like it or not, a girl and a guy kidnapping an 8-year-old girl and murdering her. That's one of the most sensational things that have happened in this province since Bernardo and Carla. It's going to be a frenzy, and you and I both know that. You know what a psychopath is, Mike?
I have never met one.
Well, I just met one tonight.
I'm not even pissed off. I just find it funny how you can go full sure on something when you don't know.
Well, Mike, when somebody tells me that they were present when a man killed an 8-year-old girl.
Somebody told you that.
Mm-hmm. She did.
Okay.
When that happens, okay, we don't say, oh, well, maybe after we go golfing for the week, we'll go and see Mike and see what he has to say. That's not the way it works.
No, so let's just pick him up and then say, yep, you did it. Because that's obviously got to be the right way to go about things.
So, the last thing I cover off with everybody I talk to in situations like this, Mike, is pretty straightforward, okay? Rodney Stafford and Terri McDonald have to be notified about this. Okay. First question out of their mouth is going to be, what? Did they say why they did it?
I'm sure one of those two will have the answer for you, why somebody would do it.
What are you getting at, Mike? What are you throwing out there for me, buddy?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're going to talk to them anyways.
You know what, Mike? If you're going to claim you have no involvement whatsoever, don't play games with me and throw out little hints and see what comes of it.
There's no game. There's no little hints.
There's nobody involved in this except for you and Terri-Lynne.
Mm-hmm. We're done.
Is that what you said to Tori before you killed her? We're done?
Funny man.
Funny man. That's what you think this is funny
I
man?
think you're a funny man.
I think. Because you and I haven't spent too much more time now than you forced Tori Stafford to spend in your car. You could have let her out anywhere along that route. You could have killed her without sexually assaulting her. And that's what I wanted to sit across from tonight. See what it's like to sit across from a guy who, when he abducts an 8-year-old girl, is so turned on by it that before he kills her, he has to have sex with her. So if you ask me why I'm sitting in this room, I'm sitting in this room for Tori. Making you squirm, putting you through some of the grief that you put her through. That's why I'm in here, Mike. And I'm having a good time. Tomorrow morning, I'll have a briefing with my officers and I'll congratulate them for 5 weeks of good work. And then we'll get our first piece of evidence. Then we'll get our second piece of evidence. Then we'll get our third or fourth or fifth or sixth. Who knows how many we're going to end up with. 20, 30, 40 pieces of independent evidence. It wouldn't surprise me, based on past experience, if we don't even need Terri-Lynne as a witness when this is all said and done. now that we know the route and we know all the ins and outs of what went on that day, everything else is going to tell the story. You are a sick puppy, Michael. 8 years old, Mike. 8 years old, buddy. You're drug and adult, they go to the police. So you grab an 8-year-old stranger. All she wanted to do was go home, have a little party for her friends because her mom just redecorated her room for her. That's pure evil. And that's exactly what the judge is going to see. That's what you are. No remorse, no empathy, no nothing. You're just hollow. The nice thing about the place you're going to be spending a good chunk of your life is they actually have glass cells. So you and Bernardo can make googly eyes at each other all day, whatever you guys do in there. So it's nice meeting you, Mikey. Enjoy the rest of your life. This is the kind of room you're going to be spending it in.
Michael Rafferty was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years for the kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder of 8-year-old Tori Stafford. Hopefully he doesn't see the light of day again. The detectives were amazing.